They called us conciliators, breeders of soft soil and softer principles. From the bridge of the Graal, dreadnought Imperious Dawn, strategist Prime Keth Zur had studied every public transmission from Earth. Grain stewardship summits, ocean cleanup armadas, slow jazz beamed to deep space for anyone who might share the quiet. Tacticians concluded humanity was a civilization of gentle equerries tending a planetary aquarium. We mistook the calm for incapacity. The first test was minor, an annexation probe aimed at Calliope Station, a tin-rimmed ring habitat orbiting Saturn. 10,000 humans lived there, harvesting helium-3 and debating the ethics of seaweed hamburgers. Our cruiser folded in, cut their defense beacons with pinpoint EMP, and demanded surrender. The response arrived on a simple carrier ping. Request dialogue. We have families aboard. We jammed it, boarded anyway. Graal soldiers expected panic. Instead, they found corridors already evacuated of pressure. Humans had vented their own airlocks, denying us hostages. Children were sealed in deep-core life pods that our scanners could not penetrate. Every data stack self-encrypted so thoroughly that Graal decompilers, celebrated breakers of core vault ice, spat out random Shakespeare. No weapons fired, no casualties, only silence, maddening as a riddle with its punchline removed. We posted occupation banners. Humans filed requests for hot water so their elderly might brew tea. We granted it, confused. On the 72nd hour, the station's grav ring spun up beyond regulation speed, a vibration almost musical. 5 hertz, then 8, then 13. Engineers reported harmonic resonance building along our troop decks. Before we could deploy dampers, the ring buckled, deliberately inward. Force vectors funneled every gram of rotational energy into a single controlled shutter that tossed Graal soldiers like petals in a cyclone. Artificial gravity died. Bulkheads resealed behind the airborne bodies with hymn-like finality. Calliope's administrator, a grandmother named Song Ji-un, broadcast once comms cleared, "We prefer peace. If you force us to improvise, understand we have practiced the art of contingency since the day fire met flint." Our injuries were light, our pride concussed. Strategist Keith ordered punitive measures. 3 dreadnoughts advanced on Earth's lunar defense grid. Analysts warned of planetary outrage, but we counted on their restraint. Their cultural archives overflowed with fatigue over war. They would negotiate. Transmitters crackled with a lone Terran envoy, call sign Gardner. She spoke slowly, like someone choosing stones for a wall. Withdraw from solar space. Calliope returns to its people. This is not a threat. It is gardening advice. You do not know which roots run deepest. We jammed her channel and opened with railgun flare. The round never hit. Somewhere between muzzle and moon, the slug disintegrated into filament dust. Sensors rewound the frame. A lattice of picosats, invisible until they flashed micro-singularities and chewed the projectile into ions. 79,000 slugs followed. All met the same fate. A silent fireworks show too tiny for naked eyes, too devastating for Graal calculations. Our gunnery crews switched to plasma lances. The lances arced, then stuttered, then shut down entirely as control circuits reported impossible instruction loops. Luna's farside telescopes had caught our weapon signatures, run pattern recognition, and bounced tailored firmware exploits back down the beam path, rewriting safety gates mid-pulse. A civilization that composted plastic waste for breakfast had just hacked instruments of stellar siege in real time. Keth Zur faced the footage, mandibles slack. How? His aide's crest flushed gray. Human open-source repositories include entire libraries on fault injection resilience. They treat disaster like amateur sport. We pressed anyway. Graal infantry dropped on Patagonia expecting thin air and thinner resistance. They found mountainside tunnels lit by hidden LEDs. The first platoon vanished. Helmet feeds cut to black shot through with lullaby hums, old earth lullabies. Go to sleep, little one. When we retrieved the recorders days later, no corpses surfaced, only skipped files labeled Shepherd subroutine. Analysts suspected sonic triggers wired into the bedrock, guiding invaders through a maze until they slept by compulsion. Another drop force assaulted a rice delta in Southeast Asia. Drones overhead mapped neat paddies, calm water, No bunkers, then entire hectares tilted, revealing mirrored panels that drowned reconnaissance lidar in blooming fractals. Sunlight ricocheted into the trooper visor networks, overloading visual cortexes with strobing spirals keyed to interfere with Graal optic nerves. All who witnessed it reported the taste of jasmine and forgot their own names for 2 hours. Farmers emerged, collected weapons, bowed apology for the inconvenience, and returned to planting. Strategist Keth authorized orbital scorch, yet each time targeting grids framed a village, power relays browned out. Culprit: small cubes the size of walnuts piggybacked on our coil taps, harvesting charge to run localized EMP bursts only when destructive coils warmed above lethal threshold. They did nothing else. They merely waited for cruelty and slapped it down. Rumor blossomed across the fleet that Earth itself was alive, that every stone hid an algorithm. Officers whispered of the Pacific Trench Network, acoustic mines powered by whale song, ready to collapse tectonic plates beneath unwelcome carriers. Proof never surfaced. Terror did. Diplomatic channels hemorrhaged ultimatums. The Terran envoy replied with coordinates for a meeting on Ceres, Neutral Rock. We arrived bristling with dreadnoughts. They sent one cargo tug painted sunflower yellow. Its escort consisted of 8 unarmed shuttle pods filled with elders, poets, children finishing homework. The dreadnought crews trembled. Inside war rooms, we debated countermeasures, precision mining lasers, remote drones. Each idea collapsed under verification that the mines carried adaptive shields keyed to Graal energy spectra. Any deviation would register as movement. Any movement would trigger annihilation. Hours stretched. Panic simmered beneath professional stoicism. One captain, desperate, rotated thrusters a single degree. A mine blinked violet and vaporized half his starboard hull. The remaining fleet twitched but dared not flinch again. Blackened debris tumbled, touching no one, loud as guilt. The child returned. Please, let's talk about leaving. Keth Zur's voice, a hiss shredded by despair, asked what assurance humans offered for safe passage. Gardner's face replaced the child. Behind her, a courtyard of flowering almonds rustled. Withdraw beyond the Orc cloud. Leave behind every prisoner, every technology stolen. In exchange, the mines will power down and become aid crates, medical nanites, soil catalysts, star chart libraries. Strike us again, and the crates forget to open. Keth's entourage begged refusal. Pride demanded blood. Yet consoles spelled arithmetic. 2,000 Graal lives per dreadnought. 23 dreadnoughts, all within one heartbeat of dust. Pride was a bet already lost. He accepted. The retreat was agony in slow motion. Thrusters pulsed at crawling millage increments to avoid triggering proximity fuses. It took 13 Terran days to exit the perimeter. Mines shadowed us until solar wind hid their silhouettes among comet tails. When final telemetry cleared, ships leapt into fold space like guilty children running home after breaking a lantern. What awaited in Graal territory was not applause. News of the humiliation preceded us via trading barges who described a human blockade built from garbage disguised as starlight. The matriarch council stripped Keth of rank, exiled him to a dust world where sandstorms carved names of the shamed. They vowed fresh campaigns once new tactics developed. Yet something had changed in the swarm's collective hum. Reports poured from border scouts, convoys avoiding Terran routes, captains refusing to raid worlds displaying simple banners, a strip of gray cloth with a white seed in its center. Human diplomats called it the Covenant Sigil. Its meaning spread. Peace is offered first, not second. In hidden academies, Graal hatchlings studied Terran open-net tutorials on sustainable agriculture, on negotiation, on code security. They memorized the minefield speech. Some carved duct tape emblems into desk edges, dreaming of gardens instead of conquests. Generals scoffed at such softness until supply lines faltered. Planets once eager to fuel Graal war machines now traded harvest to Earth for atmospheric filters that turned smog into fragrance. Influence, like water, flowed downhill toward the deepest roots. Keth Zur, alone beneath vermilion dunes, understood at last what the child had meant about fertilizer. Humanity did not crave battle. They cultivated it as compost, feeding every fallen sword into stronger plowshares. They had shown a war of restraint so complete it rewrote psychology, violence as hostage to imagination. He spent exile cataloging ways humans converted vulnerability into geometry, angled solar sails that became kinetic mirrors, lullabies that folded into encryption keys, irrigation canals that could summon deserts. His notes, smuggled to underground scholars, became the scroll of humble calculus. It would flower revolutions one day. Back in Seoul, Gardner walked coastal cliffs scarred by ancient tsunamis. Reporters asked if Earth feared Graal revenge. She tossed breadcrumbs to wheeling gulls and replied, "Fear is a seed. Plant it, reap thorns. We prefer figs." A gull snatched a crumb, winging away into orange dusk. Far above, satellites tended invisible webs, patient, kind, and utterly unwilling to watch the orchard burn again. They once called humanity weak. Now the stars whispered a revision. The gardeners decide when the pruning shears close.